sometimes you can't lead with your profession because people have an idea, like already have an idea in their head of what that means. So if I say I'm a chiropractor, they already have, oh, you do this, you only help with this, it's a bad experience, oh, I love my chiropractor. You've already started that. So same thing, if you're a marketer, oh my gosh, somebody gave me a bad marketing experience, you're gonna just sell me something that doesn't work, blah blah blah. So to step around that, I've always been taught to do your who and do statement, right?
Well, in just a few moments, you're going to hear from Dr. Kristen, who is right outside of Minneapolis in beautiful Minnesota, and she is a solopreneur. She runs her chiropractic office and does, of course, the chiropractic, the front desk, the accounting, the marketing. She's doing all of it, as well as being married and has kids. So she has got a lot on her plate, and she's crushing it. We dive into all of that in just a few moments on the next episode of the Finally Marketing That Works podcast. Well, hello and welcome again to another edition of the Finally Marketing That Works podcast. I'm here with another new friend, guys, Dr. Kristen over in beautiful Minnesota. Dr. Kristen, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing super good. How's your summer going so far?
It's going well. It's nice to have nice weather in Minnesota, be able to be outside, get a little bit of vitamin D on my skin.
After that last year of being kind of cooped up and probably not being out as much as probably all would have liked to be out. So,
Right.
how is well, I guess before I jump into that, let me rewind. I'd love you to introduce yourself, introduce your business, what you do, what the day-to-day life of Dr. Kristen looks like with you and your family, and then we'll kind of jump into some questions after that.
Sure. So I am Dr. Kristen Hager. I'm a chiropractor. My office is Delightful Chiropractic, and I'm in Shakopee, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. I'm south of Minneapolis. And my focus, so I'm a solo entrepreneur, solo practitioner. Like I do everything in my office. And then I'm also married with kids. So I'm like the wife at home, and I feel like that's a whole different thing women mothers go through is you don't have a wife at home to support things like you get to do that and the office, and there's so many hats and so many things to do that it's amazing when you can get all of them done, let alone done well.
Well, I think you stay very busy. I have already had an immense respect for moms and everything, but now having my own child and seeing my wife as a mother, that's a whole different level. Like that, and then having a business nonetheless and being a doctor, I think like just yeah, that's a lot of work. And then of course the husband, you got to keep up with us and keep us in our place. So I feel like
Yes.
that's
Well, it's sometimes it's taking care of the house and him and the kids. It's good. He does a lot. He's very helpful. He's actually the one that cooks, so very helpful.
I'm the one that cooks too. Funny enough. We have a my wife and I. We always joke because our friends will mess with us because we kind of like the stereotypical gender roles or whatever. Sometimes are reversed in our relationship where like I love the grocery shop. I don't know why. I just love grocery shopping and I love to cook. So I'll do typically. I know what's in the house for food wise, so I'll do the grocery shopping and then I'll cook at night after I'm off work. And but she does the cleaning because she likes to clean, and I'm not a big fan of cleaning. But she does all our route planning, all our if we're going on a vacation, she's the planner of the family, and I'm not the planner at all when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So I can relate to your husband on that side of things. So you mentioned with your practice that you're solopreneurs. I mean, not even a front desk person. You're doing literally everything, or do you have a couple people that work for you in the office?
So at this point in time, I am working completely by myself. I do not have support staff. And so I've been in practice for, I want to say 14 years now. I graduated, oh gosh, yes, 14 years ago. And this practice I opened 5 years ago. And there's been times where I've had different flavors of support staff. I also host interns from the local high school, their CAPS program. But this last year especially has made me kind of, I like being staffless. So how do I do that most efficiently? And honestly, the role in my life, like an employee in my life that would help me most is probably not in my office. I got this. It'd be more like a personal assistant or executive assistant that takes on more of the home roles. So we have like nanny help at home versus anyone here.
Okay, man. And do you think that's what you kind of want to keep it going forward as you grow, or you kind of just want to keep kind of stay with where you're at and keep the one person role?
So my office is making a shift. I'm actually moving locations next month, and I'm downsizing with that. But it means less that I have to provide to my clients. The building I'm in has a common waiting room and common bathrooms and that sort of stuff. So it's not going to be in my suite anymore. Um, and that just allows me, I think, because it's going to reduce my overhead, which is huge as a business to have that as low as possible, that I don't need to see more clients in order to generate revenue for that. So if as a chiropractic, it's a service industry, it's a hands-on type of industry. So it's how many people can you serve that helps, and it's trying to create like not so much face-to-face, hands-on kind of time to grow your business. So I'm maneuvering that too, if that
Man.
answers the question.
Yeah. And so for your practice, do you when somebody comes in for a typical visit, how long does a visit on average probably take? Because I know there's different ways of chiropractic out there, of course, where some people are like get them in, get them out really fast, and there's some that really just like they talk to you, they take the time to just I don't know build up that relationship and see you, and it's more personal. I was curious what your approach is at your practice.
Yeah, so I made the decision when I opened to stay as an out-of-network provider. So again, chiropractic is part of that healthcare um, place where insurances will pay for it, but you have to get in network, and that adds the whole. Well, then you have to bill insurances, and I didn't want to hire staff for that, have that be part of the overhead part of the practice. So I am a cash practice. I'm also a very niche practice, so very specialty. I specialize in prenatal, postpartum. I'm a certified pediatric chiropractor, but my favorite kiddos to work on are babies and young ones because it's not your typical, like people don't think I should take my kid to a chiropractor, but you were saying how your little fussy kid was fussy at first. Like that's something chiropractors fix in babies all the time. That's how they tell you they're hurting, but insurance companies don't necessarily say, "Oh yeah, let's pay for that." So I knew I wanted to stay out of network. Um, so that also allows me to set my own prices per visit, where insurance networks will set the prices for you and you can't increase your fees. In fact, insurance companies are doing a great job decreasing our fees lately in the healthcare industry.
Dang. And I'm in 100% full support of chiropractic for prenatal and infants and stuff because we actually took our son when he was having colic those first 6 months. One of my good friends was a chiropractor there in Florida. And so he's like, hey, he was just starting up his practice. And so he was doing house calls. And he doesn't do that for anybody else. But he's like, hey, I'll come to the house. I want to try these things out. And so simple. Like I took pictures and it was so cute because my son would be like, I think he started when he was 2 or 3 months old. He was already doing adjustments on him, and my son would be just smiling, which I was like, oh, I guess he doesn't hate this, But he would
Mhm.
little things on his back, and sure enough, it did. It helped him. It helped. He still had colic and issues, but it was better. He didn't fuss as much, and then he was doing something weird with his neck when he was nursing, where he would like. I don't know what he was doing, but he stopped doing that from the chiropractic adjustments he was working on. So it was a little freaky going, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a chiropractor, work on my infant son. But it wasn't like he was going bam and jumping on top of him or something like you think of when you think chiropractic. So
It
and
looks way different with the different populations. The amount of pressure I use on a little one is what you could put like finger pressure on your eyelid and not hurt your eyeball. Like that's the pressure.
wow,
What I've realized is bodies respond really well to that gentle force adjustments, and that's what I use on my prenatal clients, my postpartum clients, and now just everyone. Like I'm a more gentle chiropractor, and so there is a chiropractic school in the Twin Cities. There's a lot of local people that go to the school and stay here. A lot of people come here to go to school, fall in love, get married, and stay here. So we have a lot of chiropractors in the area, and it really works well to carve out your niche because chiropractic is kind of that everyone with a spine could use a chiropractor, but I won't accept everybody. I'm very particular with what type of client should see me, needs to see me, and then there's someone else to help a different person, a different complaint, and that sort of thing.
I've done a lot of networking in my years of being in business, doing like BNI, for like networking or chamber events, and and my it's I usually pick on chiropractors when I say this because that's the ones I've seen do this, where they go to the networking group and they're like, "Who's your target market?" And they like without even hesitation, anybody with a spine, guys,
Everyone,
anybody with
yeah.
a spine, and you're like, all right,
That's
can we?
not
You got
helpful, right? Like, that's not helpful when you put on your business hat and you're trying to market, because marketing is just creating brand awareness and what you do and how you're going to help. But, like, that tells nobody anything. Like, okay, I have a spine, but it doesn't hurt. Well,
yeah,
then you have to do a whole mess of education, and that's not fun.
yeah,
Or
it
it is.
just you're gonna spend
Chiropractors are nerds. We love educating.
you're going to spend so much more on marketing doing it that way, and I just feel like it just won't be as effective. We have a client that is a chiropractor that is more so like around your side. He does the infant, and he's in Alaska, and he when we talked to him, he wasn't ranking really well specifically, and so he was like, we looked at doing ads and we looked at doing some SEO for him. So we started doing SEO to help him rank for if somebody was googling for a baby chiropractor or a prenatal chiropractor. He wasn't showing up for any of those keywords, so we got him ranking for all those, and now he's getting that traffic to his website
Nice.
for people searching for that specific term. And so I said, that's so much easier if he was just saying, I want to rank for chiropractor this area. He doesn't service adults in this practice. We just be wasting all that time and money for people calling and going, oh, sorry, nope, can't help you, and hang up. So it's like it really does. If you can hone in and niche down, which I'm glad you've done that. And it sounds like obviously you know
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing with that. But I wish more people would do that. Dentists are guilty of it. I feel like everybody, marketers included, are guilty. Where you go, who's your target? And I used to be there. Who's your target market? Oh, anybody with a business. And you're like, oh man, like no, no.
But
So
then they don't hear you. If you're really good and so if a certain population brings you joy to help too, like, oh, you really have it dialed in for that, it's so much better. You're going to have such a great complementary collaboration working with those type of people. So if someone's helping you with your marketing.
yeah. And have you done BNI before? Any type of networking?
So BNI, it's hard to find a spot with a chiropractic spot open. And I found one when I first opened, and it was right in Shakopee versus having to travel around the cities. But they were just the worst. It was 2 hours of my time to go, and they, want to pass. Like BNI is very like past sales and this, and I would get the worst clients. I didn't want to see it like low back Larry. I could, but I didn't want to. And oh goodness, some of them wouldn't even talk to me. Like I was in it for a while. It was just every group's different with BNI. There are some really, really great ones that they pass you business and they have vibrant energy. Like it's amazing. This was kind of like a dud. And it just,
And
I was like, if I spend 2 hours of my time, like creating Facebook videos, I would get more out of my marketing time and dollars than I do showing up there. And the cost of BNI, it's not an inexpensive group, but if you're not getting the clients you want to serve, like it's, yeah. It did always did a return on investment, just not my happy clients,
that's
not my pregnant ones.
That's good. And I will say I'm supportive for sure networking. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I've been a part of it before in Alaska, and then also we moved to Florida. But it's there are weird groups I've gone to visited where they're very cliquish. There's those little groups where they're like, oh, it's an outsider type of thing. I
Hmm.
always felt like that was just because I'm a marketer, and people typically don't like marketers. They're like, oh, it's like I don't know if they lump us in with network marketers or something. I don't know, but they're
Oh,
like, oh, it's a marketer. He just wants to have my business or whatever. But uh, yeah, I've had good success with it and it's been fun. But my biggest thing I wanted to mention for that is for 60-second commercials, when somebody stands up and talks about their business for 60 seconds in the meeting, is the ones that would just baffle me. And I was trying to train our group, excuse me, how to do a better 60-second. They'd stand up and go, I'm so and so as a chiropractor, and I'm looking for anybody with back pain this week, or anybody that and they just kind of keep going on and on and on, and you're like, okay, I didn't think of anything until one day. This is when my friend in my BNI group, the chiropractor, stood up and goes, "I'm looking for anybody who's pregnant or about to have a baby," and I was like, at that point, my wife was pregnant, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you actually did that type of chiropractic, and it just triggered it in my head because he was very specific, and so
Mhm.
I was like, man, if people could just be more specific in their marketing and really hone in, you're going to spark that. I don't know what you want to call it, spark it in people's minds to go, oh, I know somebody with that, or I have that issue. But people are typically so generic, thinking they're going to cover the whole base, and that's better in their mind, but it's actually really, really worse. So I'm assuming you
It,
were doing that in your commercials, though, too.
I was doing a flavor of being more specific, but what you mentioned, sometimes you can't lead with your profession because people have an idea, like already have an idea in their head of what that means. So if I say I'm a chiropractor, they already have, oh, you do this, you only help with this, it's a bad experience, oh, I love my chiropractor. You've already started that. So same thing, if you're a marketer, oh my gosh, you're somebody gave me a bad marketing experience, you're gonna just sell me something that doesn't work, blah blah blah. So to step around that, I've always been taught to do your who and do statement, right? Like who do you serve and what do you do for them? So like my statement, my elevator thing is I help women have pain-free enjoyment of motherhood. And someone will be like, "Oh, well how do you do that?" And it just switches where they are in their brain already of like, "Oh, well I'm a prenatal focused chiropractor. I also help in the postpartum, and then if they're having problems with their kids or their babies, they bring them in and I get it up fixed up. Or I'm a big connector of moms to the resources they need. So it starts the conversation differently when you do it that way. So yeah, like BNI commercials, you can't start with, "Oh, did anybody hurt their back? It snowed last week. You better be careful shoveling snow, and if you tweaked it, come see me."
That's that's a very good point. Do you It made me trigger go to know? Do you know who Donald Miller is? You
Yes.
heard it? Okay, because that's very Donald Miller-ish, which I love his training, love his books. That
That's
he
the building your story brand, right?
Yeah. So that and he talks about that and I'm so guilty of this because I'm always like, people really don't care what I do. That's what I might always have in my head. So if I go to a coffee shop, what do you do? I do marketing, or I'm in marketing or whatever, and then they'll usually just go, okay. And they don't ask anything else. But he says instead of that, do exactly what you mentioned. So that's really you're spot on. Instead of
Yeah.
going like one of the niches we love to focus on is schools specifically. They love helping schools. So I'll be, well, what do you do? Oh, I help schools grow their enrollment so they can focus more on the students while we help them get more of them. Something like
Yeah. And
that.
they're
And
like, how do you
oh,
do that?
yeah,
Right? Like it sparks the next conversation. And especially if they see themselves needing your help or they think of somebody, like it's way better that way. Yeah, I've studied a lot of Donald Miller's stuff. I designed my last website based on his story brand piece because websites are important. I think you mentioned the whole like Google search and Google words thing.
yeah.
And it's one thing to like start ranking, but when that person is looking for something, the website needs to tell you, especially as a chiropractor, that you're the one that's going to solve their problems versus a generic one. Oh my goodness, with all this education pieces like the history of chiropractic and that sort of thing, like nobody wants to hear that. They want to know, can you help my problem? And then, make them the hero, right? Like that piece too. Like they see themselves needing you and your services versus they can't find it on your website.
You are so spot on, and I love that because I know there's so many that, and not ever a knock on doctors or in education, but I know people love to push forward. Typically, like, oh, I was to school for 8 years or 10 years, and I'm this educated, and that's all awesome because I'm really glad you have your degree because I'd be a little nervous if doctors didn't have a degree, but people in their minds they don't really care about the 8 years 10 years. They just want to go, how are you going to help me? How are you going to help me be the hero or whatever, and you're going to guide me through this health journey that I'm struggling with. And so that, and I get caught up in that. I don't even have a college degree. I was completely self-taught in marketing, but I don't even typically put that out there. I just say, here's how we help your business, or here's how we help your school or whatever. So you're
Right. Because they
completely
don't
spot on.
care. The person needing your help doesn't care as long as they know you can help them solve their problem.
In the end, they don't even care how long people have been in business. Typically, like I know a lot of times people, the family businesses, oh, this is we've been in business since 1967. My grandfather started this business when he was, like it's a great story. Put it on the about page if you want to really want it on there, but let's keep the home page, clear and like direct. So that's fantastic. And so now, for everybody listening, we're gonna dive into this a little bit more. For Donald Miller, you set up your website this way. Have you also added lead generation things on your website that people can opt into?
I have to refresh mine. So I did my website 2018. It's 2021 now. Oh my goodness, has everything, like lots of things have changed. The languaging has changed. The pandemic brought about a lot of change in the language that actually resonates with people. People are constantly looking for like, are you safe? Like, is it safe to do this, that sort of stuff. So my lead gen has kind of dwindled, and it's always good to revisit, like, is that actually generating leads, and refresh it, tweak it, change it. So that has to be updated. And I'm also going to go through and refresh my brand colors a little bit too. Not a huge change, but sometimes you just need to refresh.
Yeah, and I say typically to clients, not all of them want to do it. Every 3 to 5 years, a website should be updated with something. At least three. I mean, 5 years that's pushing it, but 2 to 3 years, if you could just give it, like you said, color update, changing the flow a little bit.
Mhm.
That's things do change. It's you want to keep it fresh and updated. And I know everybody can typically tell when you go to a website, like, oh, this one's
That's
been
been
around for a while.
super old. Yeah.
Yeah, when they see that I have hair in a picture and they're like, "Oh man, like Mitchell doesn't have hair anymore," so I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta get rid of those." So you're spot on with that as well. So kind of diving more into the marketing side of things.
Mhm.
And this could be, I know you've been in practice for a while now, for those 5 years you were mentioning, is what is something that's worked for you in marketing and something that hasn't worked? Just if somebody's listening, going, "Oh, I was going to try that, but it sounds like it didn't work for Dr. Kristen, so I'm not going to try it." I'd love to kind of get your take on what's over these years. What you've been doing.
Yep. So when I first opened, I did an ad in a local coupon book, and again, it did brought some people in. It got my first client in the door when I opened from scratch. But I don't recommend that sort of coupon print stuff unless your target market is like looking at those and using them. But also as a cash office, like coupon clippers aren't ready to pay cash; they want the deal. What else did I do? I had a ad going at a Marcus Theater, which I thought was brilliant. However, people don't buy tickets and sit and watch the leading up to the credits. Like now everything's reserved online, so you have your seat, you have your exact seat already booked online, and you walk in at the time of the showing. So to be, 5 minutes before showtime, like pay for that spot, nobody's there.
Mm.
Nobody's there in the theater at that point. So um, those are ones I don't necessarily recommend. Although my clients thought it was pretty boss. Like if they were in there and then they saw my ad, they're like, I saw you at the theater. It was awesome. But I don't, it's hard to track who actually is like, oh, you're the theater chiropractor. And that's why I came to see you. So yeah, those ones.
Man, anything on the social media side? Did you ever try TV commercials, radio ads, anything like?
I haven't tried TV. Nope, I haven't tried. I've been in a TV ad for when I worked at a different office, and they tried the commercials. So I was the talker, the model for that because I worked for that office, but none myself. On social media, I've done ads, and the chiropractor ones are a little bit weird. We got a lot of chiropractors around the cities that want to do like the huge discounts. And I don't discount my services. It's actually, you have to follow guidelines and rules for that of how much you can give away for free. It's called enticement in the healthcare industry, and it's illegal. So my fees are my fees. I'm not going to reduce them and be like, $37 x-ray exam, first adjustment, all that. That is an ad out there. What I did instead was actually, it's called a lost leader. So I gave away pillows. They are really cool. I don't have them near me, but like neck pillows, which leads into people who have neck pain or not sleeping well, usually would do really great with a chiropractor. That grew my list huge. Um, it is a really great thing to do, and actually I could connect people with. I think that's still a thing you can invest in and buy. It was called the $1 Billion Mission that my business mentors created, and it helped a lot of chiropractic offices. Now it's a great idea. However, it didn't bring a lot of prenatal clients into me. It brought a lot of neck pain clients in. And the other piece is I would have got a way bigger return of investment if I was a network accepted insurance kind of office, because people wanted a free pillow, then also wanted, their insurance to pay for their care. So loss leaders are an interesting thing. Have you worked with anyone with those before?
No, I haven't. I'd love to hear more about it.
So you give something either for free or for oh goodness, my business mentor did it with his book too. So you can just pay shipping for their book and you get their book. And in the book it's like free whatever into their paid group on Facebook.
Okay.
But that's just, you offer something of value first to get their email addresses, and then you have to be a good email marketer to continue that conversation. So I think email marketing is a big thing too that we need to start revisiting. Like, you're not going to hit everybody. People don't read every single email, but if you're interesting and you're giving them something of value in the conversation, and
Yeah.
then they will keep opening your emails.
We'll help clients with like digital loss leaders, kind of like what you mentioned, not like a pillow or anything, but more so
Like a white paper kind of thing.
ebook checklist,
Yes.
something on the website like opt into this. And I'm a huge fan of checklists. We have an ebook on our website as a lead generator, and then we have a case study. We have a roofing case study and a school case study that somebody can download. And if it's a whole, it's a beautiful thing when you look at the back end of everything that the team has made, where you go, if they download this, they're going to get all these strands of emails that follow for this targeting school and principals, and then it's really pretty. But of course, it didn't cost us anything. It's not a pillow. You just all the money to get it set up and made. But we do it more so on the digital side of things. But I know people like physical thing that they can hold in their hand. That's a big deal. Of course, there's added cost to it, but if it's something like, I love the when you mentioned the pillow, because typically people do, it's a pen, it's a mug, it's a shirt, but it's
Yeah, this is a really nice pillow. It's quite popular because it's shaped kind of like a dog bone. And I'll have people still coming back and be like, "Do you have any more of those? Can I just buy one?"
man,
And
has your logo on it, right? Or name?
no, it's not. I do not have my logo on it. But
Oh,
it's, you have to come in and get it. So you meet me and then we have a conversation. So I get your email, but once you meet me, I can plug you, like, as a service industry, like, it's great to meet the person who could potentially help you. And then I've had people come back like a year or 6 months after they got the pillow or they got on my list. They're like, now I'm ready for your help. So it's not just all in the moment with that sort of thing either. Like, you have to, it circles back around. The part where they're coming in is huge versus just electronic exchanges. And there's email, like, to get them in person and then follow up so they stay on the list, that piece too.
and there's data too backing the part of when somebody opts in for a lead generator on the website or this pillow option, even though it's not costing them anything, actual money out of their pocket, they're still psychologically, they say, in their mind have already paid for something. Like they've already given you something, which is the hardest piece to get them to start. And
Hmm.
then it's actually easier to sell them later on because they feel like they've already invested in you, even by just signing up for with their email or getting this pillow. So it's, yes, you're giving something away, but they've actually in their mind thinking they're giving you something too. It's a weird thing. They say it's easier to sell them later on. So like,
So getting people to offer up their email, that's kind of a big deal. Like, especially if you don't get their spam one. Like, I have a junk email address that I've had since fifth grade. Like, it gets all my junk. So I forget there's actually values tied to how much an email address is for and selling your list is for. Like, that's a whole piece that a lot of chiropractors don't get, the email marketing and the lead generation. Just because they're not in your office right now, um, doesn't mean they're not going to someday. And that's what I was going to say. Like, chiropractors, traditionally, we do a lot of like health fairs or spinal screening. So I have to go out and talk to thousands of people to let them know who I am and then see if they need my services. This was the flip. Like, they signed up and came to me on my terms when my schedule allowed, and then we had the conversation. So I didn't have to waste my nights and weekends at these health screenings. They
Mm.
came to me.
That's the best referral. That's the best client is the ones that come where you don't have to do anything. They just show up. Oh, those are
Yeah.
beautiful. And one of the things I wanted to mention that you kind of mentioned how, hey, they got this thing, and then maybe if you keep in touch with them with emails, they come maybe a year later because they finally need you. They had a baby in that year, and they need somebody to take care of them. Is the analogy, and I don't know where I ever got this from, but it uses cherries as an analogy for clients. So it says typically when you meet somebody, um, 80% of the people are, or sorry, let me make sure I do this in the right order here. So 10%, we'll go 10% of the people are cherry pits when you meet them. They're never going to use your services. They're a 70-year-old guy who needs a back adjustment. You're like, no, I really work with, with women and children. So 10% typically, you just throw them away. They're never going to be a potential client. And you got 80% that are, well, 10% that are the red ripe cherries. They're ready to buy now. They just had a baby. They are pregnant. They need help right now. But it's actually the biggest part of that puzzle is the 80% of green cherries. They're not ready now. They don't have a baby yet, or they maybe they're thinking about having one or whatever. But those are the ones people usually throw to the wayside as the 80% of the green cherries because they're so focused on the people who need it now.
Mhm.
But 80% of those people, 5 years from now, they might have a baby or whatever, and they might go, "Oh man, she gave me a pillow," or she has been emailing me once a month with some health tips, wishing me a Merry Christmas and all these different things throughout the year. Your name is fresh in their mind, so when they do need it, they come to you. And so that's the biggest thing in marketing. I say if you can get an email address, which we do value those, usually about $25 a piece for
Right?
yeah, in the value of things. Some people might value those at more, of course, if it's like in the
Different industries
yeah.
will, because it's a matter of when they're going to sell it to you. But so, as a healthcare provider, a service provider, like chiropractors or dentists or massage therapy, like we don't get it. We do not understand that marketing side of the value of an email address. And then it's the other piece of if it's a green cherry, you gotta nurture it and make sure it gets to that right point. And when it's ripe, send them something that like pick them. Like don't just let them sit over there and then ripe and then rotten and like then they're worthless either.
Yeah, and I know people are always so concerned, like, oh, what if they unsubscribe? And you're like,
You're
that's
supposed
okay.
to. You're
Like,
supposed to bother people and get them off. Like either they need to open it, or unsubscribe means like they're no longer a sideliner. Like get them to one side or the other. That's fine. Clean up
yeah.
your list.
And if they unsubscribe, that's perfect. It helps you because now you don't have to waste time and energy on that because they're not going to be a potential client. That's weeding out all those green cherries so you get to the red ripe ones eventually. So,
Hmm.
Um, well, as we kind of draw things to a close a little bit, I'd love to see if you have, if anybody's listening that just has a business in general, or they have a chiropractic office, and you could leave them with one, two, or three nuggets of wisdom or advice that you would give them, maybe if they're just starting out or they're kind of just treading water with their business. What would those nuggets be?
For someone just starting out, like it's really important to keep your overhead low. Like there's a lot of things you can do, especially for marketing, that create organic reach. You just, especially on social media, it's just consistency and putting your message out there. I would say start to have a conversation out there and focus in on one ideal client. Like name that person, talk to that person. It can help you get over your jitters of being out there on social media. But when you start speaking your authentic message to that person, it's amazing how it helps your business grow.
That's good, and I
Hmm.
and I totally agree with it because I think people are not fake, but yeah, they tend to not be as truthful online. I love the video idea that you're giving because people aren't doing that typically. It's not, and if they do it, they're not doing a very good job of it. So, so yeah, everything you're doing, I would say keep it up there, Dr. Kristen. You're doing great, and
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for giving your time today to come in and talk. And we already passed over half an hour of chatting, so I mean, I feel like it went fast and it went pretty good. So
Oh, I
thank
can
you.
talk about marketing stuff like a lot. It's
Well,
a
we can
big
always
part of
chat again.
business. It's not why I became a chiropractor, but that's how you keep your business going is that marketing
Amen to
hat.
that. Well, if you ever want to chat again, you know where to find me.
All
So
right.
thank you, Dr. Kristen. Well, if you're a solopreneur and you just got done with that episode, I hope that you were encouraged. Maybe you're going through your business and you're all on your own and you're doing the marketing, the accounting, the front desk, answering phones, all those little pieces that help a business run, and you're doing them all by yourself. And hopefully, hearing from Dr. Kristen encouraged you to go, man, I can do this on my own. Maybe it's not, all rainbows and butterflies all the time, but I can do it on my own. My goal for you, and if this is maybe your goal for yourself, you grow your business with some of the tactics and tricks you're learning from the podcast and other things you're doing to be able to grow and hire a staff, to hire somebody to help you with the phones, to help you with the accounting, to help you with the marketing, whatever piece it is that you're wanting to hire out. I hope that you're able to grow to get to that point. But a huge shout out to Dr. Kristen. Thank you so much for coming and teaching us about marketing and what the day-to-day life looks like in a chiropractor there in Minnesota. So we'll be here next week, guys, with another awesome guest as usual. So stay tuned for the next episode of the Finally Marketing That Works podcast. We'll see you then.